Welcome to Fantasy Kingdom. This will be episode 2, brother. I am your host, Mikey, and with me is our co-host, Howie. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Mikey?
I am doing well. So last week we discussed a lot about the weekly rankings for week 1. Obviously, we're still within week 1.
Right.
So this episode was recorded early, pre Thursday night kickoff, and will be dropped Saturday. So the Bills, so your bets that you made last week won't we won't be able to discuss that on this podcast, on this episode. So we will talk about it on the following episode. But this episode, we're gonna go through the league news like we normally do, and then we'll go into a couple topics around sleepers and waiver wires today. So we'll start with the league news. Miles Sanders, James Robinson, both have been cleared and will be active for week 1. Sounds like no injury designation for either one of them going into this weekend. Does that surprise you with those two guys?
I didn't even know Sanders was hurt, but no, it doesn't surprise me at all. They've been, a lot of these guys have been sitting through preseason so that, they're not going to aggravate anything. And if they say they're ready for week 1, I think they're both in good shape because the Eagles need their running game, and Robinson, the only other guy they got is Etienne, and we still don't know. We still don't. Etienne's to me is still in something you don't know about yet. I mean,
we know what he did in college.
That's right. Hopefully, Jacksonville fans will get what they want with him, but he's a question mark.
Okay. The other major news is George Kittle for the 49ers. Hurt his groin on Monday. Me personally, that hurts me. I have Kittle in a couple of my leagues.
I know.
In our league, personally, he got hurt on Monday. He's questionable. So this would be the perfect time to talk about those waiver wires and sleepers as we look. We'll start with the waiver wires. So the main, obviously if you're looking to replace a Kittles from a tight end standpoint, who do you have as your waiver wire pickups for this week?
Let's see. I got two guys that got a chance of breaking out, and nobody really has. Mo Alley Cox from Indy, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wait a minute. Yeah, he's the second choice to Pittman, and they really don't have a lot of weapons, and nobody's been talking about him. I think if you've got a hurt tight end right now, he'd be a good pickup. Another good one is Adam Troutman from New Orleans. Mm-hmm. They're going against Atlanta. Atlanta doesn't have a great defense, and I think it's going to be a field day for New Orleans. So those are two tight ends I like this week.
Okay. Which I love those options. Another one that's kind of more of a deep, it's probably a more sleeper than waiver wire. Isaiah Likely, who's going to be tight end 2 in that Baltimore Ravens offense.
Right.
We know how great Mark Andrews is. He's one of the elite tight ends, but they also lost Hollywood Brown this offseason. So they have Bateman, who's their number 1 receiver, but they don't have a lot of, pass catchers behind that. So, I could see them running more 2 tight end personnel and using that guy. So although he may be more of a sleeper candidate, I would put him on my waiver wire pickup sheets as, if we're trying to replace, a tight end, he'd be one of them.
Sure, especially in a deeper league.
Yep. Absolutely. For running backs, if you had to go out and pick up a running back to replace, one of your running backs who may be questionable, who are you looking at?
Let's see. Well, an easy one, but he's probably picked up in a lot of leagues, is Mike Davis for Baltimore. They're playing the Jets. It's him or Kenyon Drake, and the other two guys on the team, Gus Edwards and Dobkins, are both hurt. So okay. he's a good one, but a guy I kind of like, who's a handcuff to Montgomery in Chicago, is this kid Khalil Herbert. Okay, he's going about 131 in his ADP, but last year he put up 100 versus Tampa Bay. So if something were to happen to Montgomery, you got him in your pocket.
Okay, I mean that makes sense.
I like him.
I mean, if we're talking about handcuffs, let's look at some other handcuffs that are possibly out there. You have the entire Chiefs backfield, obviously.
Right.
CEH is usually the one that's getting drafted. in the mid rounds. But then you have McKinnon, who came on strong at the end of last year.
Right.
You have the kid Isaiah Pacheco, who's really on my sleeper list. Everything that I've heard out of him out of camp is he's really a big back. That's more goal line. That could be a great handcuff. Who might end
Sure.
up taking that job, throughout the year. So if you can grab him early, you might think about doing something like that.
Right. Right.
So those are the two main ones I have. Let's look over wide receiver. Wide receiver seems to be the big waiver wire spot this week. Who do you have on your waiver wire that would be great pickups if you have those questionable guys?
Well, I don't even know if they're really waiver wire picks, but Julio's going to be looking to fill that spot Gronk had.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be catching balls in between the numbers, and usually he doesn't get a lot of touchdowns. He gets a lot of yards and a lot of catches, but I think now he's going to be playing more in the middle, and I think he's going to get a few more touchdown shots. And another guy I like, but he doesn't fly in an eight team league like ours, and you've got him, is Renfro. He's gonna supply that Welker Edelman role, and actually this weekend I think he's gonna get like 5 catches, 50 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah, I don't know if Renfro is going to be out there in most leagues, but if you do have a if you're not a 12, 14 team league, he may be there. If you're more of an 8 to 10 man league,
I do have a guy whose name doesn't come up very often, who looks like he's got a really good shot, is Nico Collins. Houston.
Oh yeah.
Until Hopkins comes back, it's just him and Brandon Cooks.
Well, Hopkins is in Arizona,
really?
So
that's right. That's right.
But their number 2 did get hurt,
right?
Because Hopkins and Fullers are gone now. Cooks was the leader last year. Nico Collins, you really saw it during the preseason. He tended to get better every week. So that's a great waiver wire guy. That's just if you're looking for a stash guy to fill in, or a bench guy, or could be a good plug and play also, because he is the number 2 there, and they don't have a bunch of pass catching options.
No, it's a real narrow tree right there.
Mm-hmm. So another guy that's I was listening to a few fantasy podcasts recently. They said I heard this. He's available in 80% of leagues, and he's in a high-powered offense. Isaiah McKenzie for the Bills, because nobody thinks of him with Diggs, with Davis, with Knox. Everyone knows about those 3 guys, and those are the guys that are kind of the big names. Isaiah McKenzie is that sneaky waiver wire pick that it's available in 80% of the leagues today. That could come up big. Granted, most of the people who follow us are Bills fans, and I guarantee you Isaiah McKenzie's not available to them.
Right. I was gonna say, being this is a Bill-centric show, you have to get one of them in there anyway, right? I thought you were gonna go with Palmer.
No, I was gonna use Palmer more as a sleeper.
A sleeper? Right.
Yeah. So if you're looking for a waiver wire pickup from a defensive standpoint, who are you picking up?
Oh, geez.
I'll start with me then. While you think about it, one of the guys that I found in almost all of my leagues that are out there is the Denver Broncos. Denver opens against Seattle for week 1, who does not have a great offense. Although they're not going to be considered one of the top tier defenses this year.
Right, and they got an average run D.
They have an average run D. They have fantastic secondary.
Right.
But when you look at it, and they're in a gauntlet in that AFC West. But knowing that the week 1 matchup, and that's what we're talking about here, week 1 waiver wire pickups, Broncos look awful pretty for a week 1 matchup.
Jeez, God, I hate to be a homer on this one, but I think Washington's going to give Jacksonville all they got. So, what the heck? I wasn't prepared for a defensive team. I didn't think about it. I'll be honest with you. So, when in doubt, go homer.
Right?
Right?
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. So
you got 2 teams that aren't going to score a whole lot of points. So your defense isn't going to get pointed out anyway. It's not like Jacksonville's going to score 35 points on Washington.
So. Okay. So that kind of covers our waiver wire pickups. Let's dig into the sleepers that we may have. So, what sleepers from a running back position do you have for week one? And we're talking about those deep ones.
Man,
So we talked a little bit about it. You added Khalil Herbert, who's probably a
right.
sleeper one.
He would have been more of my sleeper
Yeah.
than a waiver wire pick, but yeah,
Um,
him. Uh, let's see. Mike Davis is only rostered in 28% of leagues,
yeah,
so he could be a sleeper.
and
Uh,
he's battling with Kendrick Drake for week one, right?
right, and I know you're not big on Robinson, but he's coming back and
Mhm.
he's up against Etienne, so he could be a sleeper. I mean,
Okay.
I don't know which one of those is going to become dominant. One of them probably will. I know Etienne. He was great in college, but again, we haven't seen him yet. So
I have 3 to 4 that we can throw out there. We'll start with Richard White, Tampa Bay. All the talk of this training camp was how Fournette was overweight. Richard White came in, rookie, and is a pass catching back who can run between the tackles and has lots of speed. I can see him being a sleeper that could steal some touches and awfully maybe steal Fournette's job going through the year.
no, let's hope
Um,
not.
yeah, another one, Zamir White, Las Vegas.
Right? Oh yeah,
They cut.
Jacobs is in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, they cut Drake. Jacobs was playing into the second quarter of the Hall of Fame game, and he wasn't drafted by this new regime. Zamir White's someone that you might be able to sleeper, or it could be really Zamir White can fall within that waiver wire sleeper pick.
Yeah.
Stash him on your bench, see what happens. Mark Ingram, no one's talking about him. He's an old man,
If
but
Kamara went down,
he's still in New Orleans,
right?
and he's usually the goal line back. He could sneakily take a bunch of touchdowns away.
That's true. That's true.
TD Vulture.
Yeah. And
So
there's a guy out there that's a sleeper that I don't even like, but because Denver's um, defense isn't all that great, and he's forced into the number one spot, it's Penny.
Rashard Penny.
Yeah, for a
Yeah,
sleeper, he could do something in this game. I don't know for the whole season that I like him at all, but for a week one,
I can get it on board. Penny is the RB1. It's hard to call an RB1 a sleeper.
I know, but he's the RB1 by default.
Yeah, especially with well, not only that, it's not just default. It's also contract. They gave him a huge contract this offseason. And then they went and drafted Kenneth Walker in the second round. So that didn't make much sense. But he's also a guy who gets hurt a bunch. But week one sleeper, yeah, I can see that. They're going to have to lean on that running game because Geno Smith isn't a great quarterback.
No.
And if you're going to move the ball on Denver, it's going to probably be on the ground.
Yeah, and in the past for Seattle, you got like Metcalf and Lockett and those guys. Mm-hmm. Everybody, they were darlings for a lot of years, and now, as good as they are, they might as well be on the Redskins.
Right. True. And another sleeper that we could talk about, obviously Isaiah Pacheco. We talked about him with Kansas City.
Right.
Jalen Warren, Pittsburgh. Now, we know Najee is going to get 90% of the carries. But if something happens to Najee, Jalen Warren is a rookie that came out of nowhere and took the RB2 role.
Right.
So it's another one of those deep sleeper guys.
Sure, and with that many carries, I mean, Najee's great, but how many times can you run into a wall and not get hurt?
Jeff Wilson Jr. for the 49ers. We know Elijah Mitchell's going to be healthy and is going to play, but every year it seems that the starter from the year before isn't the starter in San Francisco. And that Shanahan offense, we know, especially with Trey Lance now under center, they're going to run a ton. So I can see Jeff Wilson Jr. being a sleeper.
Yeah, because somebody's going to get hurt on the Niners.
They always do every year. So we'll switch over to wide receivers. Some sleepers for wide receivers. And I don't know how much of a sleeper this guy is. No one's really talking about him. I know he's only drafted in about 60% of Yahoo League, so he's open in about 40. Jarvis Landry.
Oh
Michael
yeah,
Thomas is back, as the number one. They have Chris Olave,
right.
who is their rookie stud slot guy. But Jarvis Landry is that old vet possession guy
Oh
that
sure.
that I can see no one talking about him and forgetting about him, and then he has huge games.
He's sort of a Julio type this year, a little bit. Because
Yeah,
he's flying under the radar a little bit.
yeah,
You know,
yep. Um, Johan Dotson,
the skins,
another rookie for Washington,
right?
who has Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin. And McLaurin's an elite receiver playing on a bad
Sure,
offense.
sure he is.
But we know that the passing offense should get better with Carson Wentz. You think he'd be better than Tyler Heineke? You would think.
You think? I mean, on paper, but every year it's on paper for the skins. It's like I don't know.
Okay, just someone to think about as a deep sleeper. Josh Palmer, we talked about him in
Right.
the first round, who's a deep sleeper. I think you talked about it a little bit before the broadcast before we went on. That Keenan Allen is over 30.
Right.
Mike Allen's in his late 20s. Josh Palmer is still in his early 20s and an explosive offense.
Right. They've even got they've got Everett too for tight end
Yeah.
over there too. So yeah, it's good offense. And if something were to happen to one of those two main guys, Palmer would be right in there. They love him.
Yeah. He made a lot of big plays last year towards down the stretch too.
Sure.
He caught a lot of big ones. They used him more of the over the top guy. Right. So a couple old veteran types that are still out there. Kenny Galladay, who went to the Giants, signed a big deal, got hurt, didn't play. People just wrote him off because of that Giants offense. Now that Brian Dable's over there and Mike Kafka is the offensive coordinator, I don't think Daniel Jones is so bad that he can't get the ball out to the wide receivers. At least I would hope. Robbie Anderson in Carolina. DJ Moore's their number one. Christian McCaffrey's back, who's really their number one. Then DJ Moore's their number two option. But with Baker Mayfield now back there, you have a guy who can get the ball out.
Right. He's not just going to throw it to one person and Yeah, no. I've seen guys saying how Moore could be top receiver this year. Just because of that situation. Normally I wouldn't think that, but hey.
DJ Moore has put up 1,100 yards in like the last 3 years. Right. Every year. It's a quiet 1,100 yards because he doesn't get the touchdowns. Sure. Because he doesn't have a quarterback.
Right.
Mayfield at least stabilizes that position there. My last sleeper that I have for wide receivers is Paris Campbell, who is the number 2 wide receiver in Indy. Everyone, I mean, I guess he's still the number 2. He might be the slot guy now, because they have the rookie Pierce out of Cincinnati, and then they have Pittman. But Paris Campbell was out of Ohio State a few years back with Terry McLaurin, who had a bunch of promise, who got hurt, and who hasn't been able to stay on the field. If he can stay on the field with Matt Ryan as the quarterback now, and those other 2 guys, and they can give him one-on-one matchups, Paris Campbell could be one of those sleeper guys that comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think the addition of Ryan's really going to help that team this year. Just the old guy in the middle, you can't mess with him. You can't fluster him.
Yeah.
So and with Taylor there, they've got they've got to commit to him.
They have to commit 8, right? They have to commit 7, 8 every time, which is going to leave a lot of one-on-ones for these receivers. And now if you're going to slide with those last 3 to 4 defenders, if you're going to shade over Pittman as the number 1, now Pierce and Campbell have real opportunities. So it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. Do you have any others that are sleepers? I know we talked about Isaiah Likely. We talked about Mo Alley Cox. You talked a little bit about Gerald Everett. One that I have on my list is Tyler Conklin. Tyler Conklin played for the Vikings last year. Was a fantastic tight end. One is now with the Jets and is in a battle with Uzamam. I can't say his name. CJ.
Oh,
He was
Uzama.
Uzama. I can never say his last name. I always want to call him, who's your mama? Like, championship.
Right.
So
Hushmanzada.
yeah, who's Manzada? Tyler Conklin could be that other guy too. They could run a lot of two tight end sets. They don't have Zach Wilson to start the year for the first 4 weeks. It's going to be old man Flacco back there. So I can see them, trying to pound Brees Hall and then run play action off of that to their tight ends.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any other sleeper guys?
Not offhand right now.
Not offhand?
Not for this week anyway, because I just don't know what people are going to do yet. It's
Right.
it's all speculation until it happens. It's like for tonight's game, I would think that if you're starting a defense tonight, I don't think you should start either the Rams or Buffalo. And I think you ought to sit Tyler Higbee down for the Rams. Other than that, I don't like the running backs on either side, but I like the defenses and the air attack.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's going to be like. I don't think there's going to be any ground and pound tonight. I mean, you got Singletary and Akers, which they're not inspiring at all to me.
Okay.
I know the Buffalo fans are like, oh, but really, I mean, look at the game. It's going to be a tough game, and I don't know how many points. I don't think it's going to be a blowout either way. I think it'll be like 28-24, something like that.
Okay.
That's what I'm looking at.
Okay. From a defensive standpoint, the only ones that I have left is that could be a sleeper is Carolina. They have a dominant front, and we have no idea what Jacoby Brissett's going to bring. With Deshaun Watson out, in that Baker Mayfield matchup against them. I mean, don't get me wrong. Cleveland has a fantastic run game, but we don't know what the pass game is going to look like. And Carolina has a great D line, and they have the young corner and Jalen Horn, Joe Horn's kid. So that's one of my sleeper defenses is Carolina. So with that, this pod will drop this weekend. Obviously, after the Bills, can't think of the names, Rams game, and before Sunday. So with that, we will see you guys on the Saturday prior to week 2. For Howie, I am Mikey, and this was Fantasy Kingdom.